Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and it's now time for the 4th annual Movie Crusaders Awards. I'm Sean Wasku. With me, as always, is Brian Michaels. This is our last video for the 2024 film. Actually, no, second to last video from our 2024 films, because we have the Oscar shows, which I think Oscar nominations are tomorrow morning, or they're already out by the time we put this out on air. So we will have our Movie Crusaders Oscar show coming up probably sooner rather than later, since the nominations are out now. So now that we know what the noms are, we can actually shoot that show. But this is the Movie Crusaders Awards. Like I said, it's our 4th year doing it. This is the fun award show. This is where our categories that we created, that we love talking about, and it's a way to acknowledge films that the Oscars are not going to acknowledge. Some will, most of them won't. And it's a fun way to kind of talk about some of our favorite stuff that happened throughout the year. We add and subtract awards throughout the year. So if you're watching last year, I think everything stayed from last year, the awards themselves. But we already discussed adding new awards for next year. We've taken some off, like Bromance of the Year is not here anymore because RRR basically retired that one. No one's going to top RRR for Bromance of the Year. But I always love shooting these shows. Brian, what are your thoughts on the awards?
Yeah, because I mean, award shows are generally quite stuffy. You know, it's like if you're looking at the technical artistic value of films and things like that, you're going to have a very different list of films than the kind of things that we are going to recognize here, because we're talking about our favorite films and the things that, really appeal to us as people, and not necessarily, the greatest all-time films, just what we enjoyed for the year. And as well, and then we have the categories that kind of we make up. Some of them are, more direct, like best of certain genres, best fight, things like that. But other ones, we get to have a little bit more fun with. And yes, like you said, we're going to add some, we're going to lose some. We might change our minds halfway through the year because, that's our prerogative, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, this is stuff that we keep track of, or at least I keep track of throughout the year, that I have to remember.
I try to keep track of. I just get behind.
Brian, have you been keeping track? Oh shit, I haven't for like my last 20 movies. Let me go back.
And it's easy to go back. I'm like, okay, I can do this later and figure it out. But it's easy for, like, best horror movie, best action. But when you start talking about like best action scene, best fight, funniest moment, I'm like, well, now I got to think of every scene in every movie.
Which Brian's memory can do that. He's very good at that. But this is also the ones where we have to discuss. And we have to debate on which ones are going to win, which one. Sometimes yes. Sometimes there are certain wins that are movies that I don't like that Brian does, and vice versa. And it's like, look, I gave you this one, you give me this one, kind of thing. So we have cohesively picked the winners for this. It's not Brian's pick and my pick.
We considered it, but
then it was just going to be way too long. Yeah. But we do have every category has 5 nominees, except for 2 of them. 2 of them have 10, just because there's so many from that year. And it's always like best action scene and best fight scene. Those are always going to be the long ones because there's so many. But let's go ahead and jump into the very, very first award, which is Best Opening Sequence of the Year, aka the Hold On to Your Butts Award. And the nominees are Deadpool Digging Up Wolverine /Fight in Deadpool and the Wolverine, Harkonnens Dropping Like Flies in Dune Part 2, Boat Inspection from the Ministry of the Ungentlemanly Warfare, The Opening Mission in The Shadow Strays, and Art's Santa Surprise in Terrifier 3. And the winner for Best Opening Sequence of the Year, aka the Hold On to Your Butts Award, goes to Deadpool Digging Up Wolverine /Fight in Deadpool and Wolverine. I think for anyone, if you go back to what's the most memorable opening scene in a movie in 2024, I mean, literally it revived Bye Bye Bye. I'm now sick of hearing that song again. I didn't think I'd have to go back to that, but it is the funniest / best opening sequence of 2024, hands down.
It is, because I mean, right off the bat of that movie, you get everything you want in a Deadpool movie. You get plenty of humor. You get lots of good graphic action. They made it clear right up front. Okay, yeah, we're Disney, but we're still going hard R because we're just slicing people up, blood going everywhere. Just the design of the titles and everything was really cool. If you got to watch it in a 3D theater, it looked really cool, like the skulls flying up in the air and stuff like that. And it was just a great way to kick off that movie.
Yeah, and the other great part about it as well was that everyone was so worried with Logan or with Deadpool Wolverine is how are they going to handle Logan? What are they going to do? Are they going to retcon it? What is going to be the situation that causes it to make sense? And the answer was simple. Logan happened. we're not taking that away. We're not pretending it didn't happen. It's going to be a different Logan from a different section. And better yet, Deadpool's going to dance with it and fight with it and use it as a weapon, which I thought was like, that's such a perfect Deadpool thing to do. And so it eased all of us going into like, wow, they're going to figure this out. Okay, first 5 minutes, great. All right, now we can focus on that. Going to our next award, it is Funniest Moment of the Year. And the nominees are Reggie gets accepted finally in Bad Boys Ride or Die. Mike hangs out with Samuel in Brothers. Gambit talking to Deadpool in Deadpool and Wolverine. Kong using Zuko as a weapon in Godzilla x Kong The New Empire. And Rock Hard Rod's masturbation song montage in Ricky Stenicki. We would both like to say it was a very, very close tie between two of these nominees. But at the end of the day, the winner for funniest moment went to Rock Hard Rod's masturbation song montage and Ricky Stenicki. I think you and I both had to go back and watch this and Kong using Zuko as a weapon in Godzilla x Kong to figure out who was going to win, because both of us were like, it's one of these two.
Yeah,
I don't know which one. I think the only reason that we went with Rock Hard Rod was that Kong and Zuko scene is a blink and you miss it. Like it had, it's less than 5 seconds.
I realized just how short that moment was, which is still a hilarious moment, which is why we considered it. But the Rock Hard Rod thing, it's like this is a movie that nobody else is giving awards to, and I'm not going to give it we're not giving it funniest movie of the year or anything like that. But I mean, it had its moments, and that montage was hilarious. I love that John Cena has found his niche. It's like he knows that his zone is doing, leaning into the comedy of things, whether it be Peacemaker or something like this. And instead, because anytime he tries to play fully stoic and tough, it doesn't quite pull it off. And so I'm glad that he found it. And this was kind of the pinnacle of that, because that song montage was hilarious.
Well, yeah, because that's the one thing too, and I even give more credit to Cena as well, is that coming from pro wrestling background, everyone is like, you're a tough guy, you're the toughest of toughest. You got to be super serious and tough all the time. And Rock, Batista, Cena have learned, hey, I can make fun of myself. Who the fuck's going to make fun of me? They're all terrified of me, so I'm going to make fun of myself. I'm going to have fun doing it. Cena's been the one who's done it the best, because he doesn't care about looking like a doofus, idiot, moron, or in this case, just dressing up like all these singers. I'm still so fucking mad we never got to see the Britney Spears one, because you see him dressed like Britney in the movie, and we never get to hear the song. I have not found a deleted scene, bloopers, nothing. And I'm so mad that Ricky Stenicki did not give us the Britney version of that, because I wanted to hear him sing it, and I wanted to see him perform it. But yeah, Rock Hard Rod's masturbation songs are easily the funniest moment of 2024. Going into that, let's go ahead and go to our best comedy film of the year. And the nominees are Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F., Jackpot, Ricky Stenicki, Saturday Night, and Y2K. And the winner for best comedy film goes to Saturday Night. I will say this, in terms of, this was kind of an off year for comedy. John Cena was on here twice for Jackpot and Ricky Stenicki. And I think even then, for most of us, even for you and me, I think both of us didn't necessarily like every one of the nominees this year. But there really just wasn't a huge pool of comedy films this year for us.
Yeah, I think comedies, for a while, they started taking comedies, and there wasn't anything coming out theatrically. They were the kind of thing that was just going straight to Netflix and things like that. And now we're to the point where even on the streamers, you're not seeing a whole lot of comedies. There's making less of them. It's like there seems to be the big budget blockbusters, and there's the little kind of small indie films, and it's that mid-budget comedy is what's kind of disappeared. It's become an endangered species. So when they do pop up, it's nice to find a good funny one. And then, like you said, there were some on there, I know you weren't as big as on Y2K as I was. I wasn't as big on Jackpot as you were. But we gave them to each other because we're we need to have 5 nominees, and we had a hard time finding them. But that's not to say that the winner of this Saturday Night was not a great comedy, because I loved this movie. And this is
Saturday Night was perfect.
And this is a movie we didn't know existed until a couple months before it came out. And it turned out, this the great, you have a great ensemble cast, every single one of them doing a great job. You're just embodying their characters perfectly. The snappy dialogue, that you had, that kind of that pacing that made it really exciting. You could feel the tension as they kind of approach towards the the premiere of the show, and it's just everything about this movie works for me.
Yeah, it is a standout film of 2024. It's gonna be up many more times on this show and on the Oscar show. It's star cast, everyone plays their roles perfectly, and then even when we get ones like I'm blanking on the actor's name, but like Billy Crystal's impersonator in this film, it's like I wasn't prepared. Oh my god, he's hitting Billy Crystal perfectly, and which makes it even funnier. Saturday Night was leaps and bounds ahead of the rest of the pack in this. This was probably the easiest pick for us going into this award show. But going on to the next one is biggest WTF moment, aka the furries in the conference room award. For anyone who doesn't understand that concept, go watch 1998's Avengers. 1998, right? Yeah.
Well,
not the Marvel one.
You watch that, but if you're going to watch it, that's the scene to look for.
Yes. Or just look up the furries in the conference room, the Avengers. You're welcome. So this is basically the biggest what the hell is going on moments. It could be scenes, it could be choices, or in one thing, it could be the whole fucking film. But the nominees are Yoga Kill in a Violent Nature, Baby Alien / the pregnancy,
Hybrid?
not the pregnancy, the birth of Baby Hybrid in Alien Romulus, Jackie Goes Super Big in Love Lies Bleeding, the whole movie, The Substance, or Art's Resurrection in the Mental Institution in Terrifier 3. And the winner for biggest WTF moment, aka the Furries in the Conference Room Award, goes to Jackie Goes Super Big in Love Lies Bleeding.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler. We talked about this in our, I think it was Surprising Films of the Year, was that the movie was going really good till like the last 5-7 minutes when they made Jackie go like, hell, even bigger than the Incredible Hulk. And she just turned like super big, and like she picks up Ed Harris like he's a Barbie doll, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? Case in point, the award, where it's like everything was going straight and narrow. It was a really good
what
film.
The fuck in terms of excuse me, it was like what the fuck in terms of like what was actually happening to her in a movie that was otherwise not fantastical at all. But then also what the fuck in on a second level of like, you were doing so well. Why did you have to take this turn? You didn't need this.
Yeah, it was. So I mean, and while yes, what we announced here, there's a lot of situations where what the fuck was necessary. This was the one that just confused us. Didn't need to happen. Whereas the other ones made sense. Except I think The Substance is really good, strong nominee. But we did want to go to a straight up scene here. But yeah, her going super big served zero purpose for the film. Did nothing to enhance the film whatsoever. And that is why it is our award for biggest WTF moment of the year. Going to our next award, it is best horror film. And this was also a tough race this year. And the nominees are Abigail, Nosferatu, Smile 2, Terrifier 3, and Werewolves. And the winner for best horror film goes to Nosferatu. It was up until basically the midnight hour between Nosferatu and Abigail for both of us. We were literally weighing the pros and cons of both, and it actually was third-party choice of Kimberly, who has not even seen Nosferatu, who helped. She was
basically our human coin flip because neither of us could make a decision, and so we're like,
we were both happy with Abigail winning, and we were both happy with Nosferatu winning. We didn't want it to be a tie, and I think I finally asked her. I was like, I know you haven't seen Nosferatu. I know you've seen Abigail. Which one would you pick for best horror film? And her response was, when I think of a horror film, yes, they have fun and you're supposed to laugh and stuff like that. But when I think of best horror film, I want to think of the one that is the most scary. And Abigail is a ton of fun. We laughed. We had a good time watching it. But Nosferatu is the one that is going to make your skin crawl and is going to make you go, ooh, what the fuck? She goes, by that logic, according to how you and Brian feel about that film and how that movie is, that is the one that should win. And we're like, you know what?
We kind of agreed with that because it's like Abigail absolutely would be deserving of best horror film. But in a world where they're both essentially tied and we need some kind of tiebreaker, the one that is pure horror and not horror comedy, we gave it the edge.
Exactly. And Nosferatu was, like I said, it's now on digital, everyone. So if you have not checked out Nosferatu,
apparently extended version as well.
It's
I
only
don't know how
4
much.
minutes.
Is
It's
it
only 4
one of those
minutes.
things? Okay.
Yeah, because I bought it yesterday and I was like, oh, extended cut. And I was about to message you. I was like, well, let's see how long. And I was like, oh, it's only 4 minutes. So like when it's 4 minutes, it's like a blink and you miss it addition to this thing. It was gonna be like an extra 20
And
minutes.
usually it's 4 minutes spread across like 8 scenes, so it's 30 seconds here, 30 seconds there.
Exactly. So it's not really a big, huge deal. It's not like a Dr. Sleep where it's an extra 30 minutes of film. But Nosferatu, one of the best films of the year, phenomenal cast, great horror aesthetics to it. Little side quest. My Kimberly's a 17-year-old. She's getting ready to go on her first date, I think, and they're gonna go to movies. And she's like, "Should we go see Nosferatu?" I go, "That is not a first date movie. You do not go to Nosferatu on a first date. Like, absolutely not." I go, maybe go see something else like Sonic 3 or some shit. I was like, definitely not that movie. But yeah, Nosferatu easily hands down right there with Abigail as the two best horror films of 2024.
And that's saying something this year because this was a strong year for horror.
Yeah.
Now, some of these movies, like I know, like people are going to be like, "You included fucking werewolves in there." Yes, I included fucking werewolves in there because werewolves is in the category of fun horror. I had a blast watching The Purge with wolves. Okay, so I'm just saying. But
I have not seen Werewolves.
Right.
I was leaning towards either Strange Darling or The Substance. But he was like, I really want Werewolves. I'm like, all right, fine. It's not winning.
That one, I knew it wasn't going to win, so he gave me that one. We threw it in there. But I just want to say though, this year was super strong for horror, and already 2025 is looking like a great year for horror as well.
Yeah, and according to Brian, even though I haven't seen it, Werewolves was better than Wolfman. So
well, that's not much of a bar, but yes.
Yes. Next, we're going to Best Sci-Fi / Fantasy Film, and the nominees are A Quiet Place Day 1, Dune Part 2, Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and the Rebel Moon's Director's Cut 1 and 2. And the winner for Best Sci-Fi Fantasy Film goes to Dune Part 2. I think when you look at sci-fi as a whole, well, all these movies are great films. We enjoy all 5 of these movies. Brian, more so 4 of the 5. Well, yeah, 6 technically. Dune Part 2 is the epitome of sci-fi to the strongest degree. While Brian's not as strong of a Dune fan as us, even he acknowledged that this one was good. He just thinks it's overblown how good.
And really, in Dune, both Dune 1 and 2 are the kind of things where they are phenomenal filmmaking. I can absolutely say that they're phenomenal filmmaking, and I can see why people love them. They just didn't resonate with me, and I'm okay with that. But when you're coming down to giving an award, you kind of had to give it to that one because it is a great film.
Yeah, and all those movies are deserving. And for anyone who hasn't noticed, when people are going, well, why was it A Quiet Place in horror? That's more of a sci-fi film. And you're going to see these movies where it's like, well, why is this movie not ranked here, but it's another one? It's because we didn't want to. We're trying to keep the genres specific to one film. We're not trying to put like, Quiet Place in action, sci-fi, and
our action movies are also action comedies, but we're going to put those in action because we have,
There's so many movies in the year, and we're only picking 5 per category, so we got to spread the wealth. But yeah, Dune Part 2, stand out in sci-fi. Everything about it worked immensely, so easily a smart pick for sci-fi of the year. Next, we go to the big dogs, the 10 nominee categories. Best action scene. The nominees are, let me catch my breath before I go through all these.
And let me just say, we had a hard time getting down to 10.
Yes, in both categories, we had a hard time getting down to 10. But the nominees for Best Action Scene are Reggie Saves the Day, Bad Boys Ride or Die, The Beekeeper takes down the 9 points building in The Beekeeper, The Attack on the Emperor's Camp in Dune Part 2, Colt saving Alma in a high-speed chase in The Fall Guy, Castle Battle, The Killer's Game, War Rig's First Run in Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, Noah escaping Sylvia in the sinking ship in Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Saving Appleyard in the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, Drug Drop in The Shadow Strays, and Twister attacks Reno in Twisters. And the winner for Best Action Scene goes to Colt saving Alma in a high-speed chase in The Fall Guy. yeah, there was probably about another 10 more nominees that we could have thrown into here because there were so many good action scenes throughout the year. And even this one, I think
There's
we
probably
both
10 from the Fall Guy we could have thrown in here for that matter.
yeah, we tried to make it for the most part. We try to make a rule of only one nominee per award, so we don't try to have like 8 Fall Guy nominees and only 2 of something else. So that was the best one of that one. But it's this year there were so many good scenes, and even then, like there's scenes like the beekeeper takes down 9 points, but where it's mostly fight scenes. But we want to narrow it down to like at least like one fight kind of thing, and that's why it's more of an action scene instead of just a full on fight. But yeah, Colt saving Alma in the high speed chase, that is the epitome of action stunt work. And it was very hard picking that one or the whole final scene in the final set where they're in the dunes.
In the
and you have
crater,
all the stunt people and all that stuff. But Fall Guy did exactly what it set out to do this year, and that was deliver action scenes that show the practical effects of everything. There's not really any CGI work. It is strictly stuntmen going out there and doing the best they can. Fall Guy was the epitome of that. And this was the scene that even before we even went with nominees, we were both like, it's Fall Guy, right? Fall Guy's best action scene. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now we got to pick the nominees for everything. Everything about the scene worked perfectly. Do you want to add?
No, I mean it's in a movie that was full of great action scenes. This one kind of stood out as the best because it had everything in it, and it's one of those things that it kind of the whole scene goes in stages. I mean, you go from the battle inside the truck, and then next thing he's like dragging behind it inside that was a dumpster or whatever it is. He's getting dragged by
and
it,
then it's
spinning around while they're fighting. You had the dog involved at parts, and it was just a thing that kept growing and growing and growing. And like you said, it shows off the practical stunts, which obviously. Yes, they use CG as far as like painting out safety wires, things like that. We're not claiming there's no CG in the movie, but the actual stunts are all done physically, practically on set. It's not like CG people flying around, and that scene kind of showed off exactly what that's capable of.
Exactly. Next, the other big dog, best fight scene, aka you should watch The Night Comes For Us award on Netflix. In case in point, that same director is in this category. But the nominees are Frank, Joey, Abigail fight in Abigail. The beekeeper fights the merc in the hallway, or the one-legged merc in the hallway in The Beekeeper. Boy and Mina fight the shaman in Boy Kills World. Deadpool / Wolverine car fight in Deadpool and Wolverine. Paul versus Fade Rathra, I probably said his name wrong, in Dune Part 2. The Kaiju tag team match in Godzilla X Kong The New Empire. Yoga / karate fight in Jackpot. Dalton versus Knox in Roadhouse. Nomi versus Umbra in The Shadow Strays. And Optimus Prime versus Megatron in Transformers 1. And the winner for best fight scene, aka the You Should Watch The Night Comes For Us award on Netflix, goes to Numi versus Umbra in The Shadow Strays, aka the same director who did The Night Comes For Us. In terms of best fight, we literally named this thing after this director and his phenomenal fight pieces in The Night Comes For Us. So it only makes sense that this award goes to the same guy who did The Night Comes For Us. Numi and Umbra's scene is brutal. It's raw. Yes, there's some CGI moments in there, but for the most part, it's these two girls just beating the ever-living shit out of each other in this hangar. There's swords, there's guns, there's a grenade at one point during this fight. These two are just going through the trenches against each other, and it's hands down the best fight. It was a very close race, though, between this and Boy and Mina fight Shaman and Boy Kills World.
Which is no coincidence because that one features Yaya and Ruhian, who is from The Night Comes For Us and things like that.
Exactly. So. And then even Dalton versus Knox and the yoga karate fight from Jackpot and Roadhouse, those two were right there with him. It was kind of a 4-horse race between them. But yeah, The Shadow Strays, hands down, best fight scene.
Yeah, that director just knows how to, not only film great fight scenes, but to make them, brutal and bloody. So like you're feeling every single, cut and every single hit and everything. It just makes it that much more, immersive in it. And I love the way he films action. I mean, we loved him in Night Comes For Us. I've actually gone back and looked at some horror movies he's done. He's pretty good at those as well. But then he just does it great again here too with the Shadow Strays, which I didn't know if the Night Comes for Us, if something could live up to that. Now, I don't think the Shadow Strays is quite as good, but as far as
It's
individual
not.
fight scene, this finale fight scene was great, and I'm looking forward to see. I think next he's actually directing Nobody 2, which comes out this year, so I'm curious to see what he can do with an English language film. So
Yeah, it's not as strong as The Night Comes for Us, but it's still very, very good
it's really
compared
good.
to other things out there. Next, we are going to Best Action Film, and the nominees are The Fall Guy, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, The Shadow Strays, and Twisters. And the winner for Best Action Film goes to Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. Yeah, say what you will about Fall Guy, and we talk about the action scenes, but as a pure action film, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. We just said that about the director for Night Comes for Us, The Shadow Strays in terms of fight scenes. George Miller has figured out Mad Max. He's figured out how to do action set pieces and how to make everything look immensely beautiful in every scene. And it's no different here in Furiosa. It's gorgeous the whole way through.
Yeah, he's a great director. Is a great film, and like you said, looking at it as from a pure action film, because this is another one of those where like you're looking for what to give the tip to, because you have Fall Guy, which we both loved, and these other movies. It's like, well, if we're talking pure action, Fall Guy is like an action comedy. If we're talking as an action film alone, it's like you kind of had to give it to Furiosa, because that's one of those movies that it's not quite as fast paced as Fury Road. But Furiosa, it still is beginning to end essentially just action constant, and each kind of scene outdoing the last one. And like you said, he's perfect at filming that kind of thing.
Next goes to Most Disappointing Moment / You Fucked Up, aka the You Done Messed Up AA Ron Award. This award goes to just certain aspects of films, whether it be a bad twist or how the movie ends, or just bad choices made to the making of the film or moments in the film. It's not much like the biggest what the fuck moment award. This is straight up just negatively bad things that they did to hurt the film in general. And the nominees are the overuse of Jeffrey Jones / Charles in Beetlejuice, the unnecessary twist ending in Conclave, the horrible casting for a lead in Paul Mescal in Gladiator 2, making Joker a forced musical in Joker Folie à Deux, and baiting viewers into thinking they were going to watch a Spider-Woman movie in Madam Web. And the winner for Most Disappointing Moment / You Fucked Up, aka the You Done Messed Up AA Rod Award, goes to baiting viewers into thinking they were going to watch a Spider-Woman movie in Madam Web. I've spoken my piece on Madam Web enough about this, so Brian, take this one away.
Madam Web, I don't think was ever going to be a good movie. I mean, first of all, you cast Dakota Johnson, so already you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole, and because she's just awful. And then the whole character is like a fairly obscure. I mean, to people that aren't into the comics, like most people had not heard of this character, but they want to have that connection to the Spider-Man universe. And so in the marketing, of course, they show these scenes of the other three girls who become like these different Spider-Woman characters. And you're like, oh, well, if they're going that direction with it, maybe it could be interesting. But of course, the sign of a movie that a studio knows is bad is when they are just giving away everything because they need to get you into the theater on weekend 1, because they know there's not going to be a weekend 2, a weekend 3 in the theater. They're not going to make any more money. So that's what they did here. They reveal, what's supposed to be this big cool moment in the movie, except it's nothing but a dream sequence, and it lasts about 10 seconds. I don't know how long.
And it's not even much of a sequence, just kind of showing them in their costumes. They're not doing anything like super cool even in the sequence.
And so they put this in the trailers to get people to think that played a bigger role in the movie, when really what you saw in the trailer was the entirety of it, and it doesn't really affect anything in the movie, and it's not the movie you're getting. And it's just, like I said, it's the case of a studio that knew they had a bad movie, so they got desperate to pull people in. So they're like, we'll just throw whatever in the trailers. It doesn't have to be true. We'll just do it.
Yeah, it's the epitome of false advertising to just bait people into the film. I mean, it was the main marketing for the movie, everything about it. And to only have that be like 10, 15 seconds tops of the actual film, is one of the most criminal moments of 2024. And to watch that movie, I think we even went into it not like you and me. We went into it just going, okay, let's see how fucking bad this is. I don't think even us were really going into, oh, I can't wait to see what the Spider-Women do. We were just like, okay, this is gonna be bad. But then by the end of it, like, they really did fuck everyone over by baiting everyone to thinking that this movie was gonna be what it wasn't.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's fucked up. That's like, they should get sued for this shit, because that is the whole marketing plan, is these women in the Spider-Woman costumes, and it never even, by the end of the movie, it never even happens. Like when they're like at the, like, they don't even get the Spider-Man
trailers that come out, because trailers are cut earlier than the final edit of movies. There's trailers that come out which contain scenes or shots that aren't in a final movie, which that happens. There's scenes that come out that are in trailers or that are edited in trailers intentionally to not spoil things. Like Marvel has been known to do that in some of the things, like for Infinity War and things like that. But excuse me, but those things make sense because they're for a purpose, and actually what you got in the movie was better because of it. But in this case, it's like we put stuff in the trailers that's essentially not in the movie, or is in the movie, just blink and you'll miss it. And it's just like that it's just pathetic. And like, I didn't pay to see it in the theater. I don't know if you did, but I feel bad for anybody who did.
It wasn't even like you could even call it like, oh, well, at the end of every Spider-Man movie, there has that moment where Peter flies out through this town and all stuff. And they use a lot of those scenes in the trailers. Like, well, yeah, that's the final shot, which I know Brian's sick of the final shot of being the movie poster, like, craving all that this year. But I was like, okay, well, you could have done that for them. It's like, no, that's not even what you do here. Kind of mad at, Dakota Johnson's character's kind of in her final getup by the end of the movie. But like, the girls are still just the girls at the end of that movie. So you didn't even do the Spider-Man ending to do this, just to give people like a glimpse. So like, no, fuck you. And that's why that won that award. Still on the negative train, most overrated, aka the Napoleon Dynamite Award. And for anyone who doesn't understand that, pay attention to our channel a little bit more. This goes to the most overrated films of 2024, and the nominees are Anora, Civil War, Longlegs, The Substance, and Wicked. And the winner for most overrated, aka the Napoleon Dynamite Award, goes to Anora. Now, before I go into it on Anora, most overrated doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad movie. I loved Wicked. Wicked was one of my favorite films of the year. Brian did not love Wicked, but he nominated over this for overrated because everyone's over the moon about Wicked. Substance. We both think Substance was a great horror film, but everyone is overblowing its proportions. Same thing with Longlegs, which was one of Brian's worst films of the year. Civil War. Both of us did not think that was a strong film from Alex Garland, but a lot of people are treating that as like one of the better films of the year. It's not. And then there's Anora. This was a movie that I think both of us never heard of up until about 2 months ago. Neither one of us are super crazy about, is it Mikey Nichols?
Mikey Madison.
Mikey Madison. We both weren't crazy about her in Scream. And then she decides to do this film, and we're like, okay. And then everyone's like, Best Picture nominee, Best Actress nominee, locked up. It's like, okay, let's check this movie out. This movie's stupid. This movie sucks. It's not good. It's really not. This movie is annoying. It's almost as annoying as Uncut Gems. If it would have been directed by the same two guys, I would have been like, oh, that makes sense. It's not, though. I don't think Mikey Madison has this great performance that everyone's making it out to be. I don't think this movie is even remotely close to Best Picture quality in anything. It's a very basic bitch-ass film. And it's a basic bitch-ass performance by Mikey Madison. And the film doesn't do anything at the end of the day. It's very overrated. Brian and I both feel like we are seeing an entirely different film than what everyone else is seeing.
I will say Sean feels much more strongly about this than I do. I do not think it's a shit film. I don't think it's awful. I think I actually thought it was a decent film. As far as A24 film goes, it actually is probably in the top half for me because there's a lot of A24 films I don't like. That's no surprise to anybody. So I did not really dislike this film at all. I thought it was decent to good. But yes, once I saw it, and like even like right after release, you started hearing Best Picture potential and Best Actress potential. That's when I was like, wait, what? like let's pump the brakes on this a little bit, folks, because while I thought it was a actually good movie, I do not see awards in it at all. So Sean and I are coming at it from different opinions on the movie itself, but we agree that it is overrated.
Yeah, and there was potential there in the movie to have made it that caliber, but they never really go for it. So I don't understand what everyone's seeing. I don't see this revolutionary performance out of Mikey Madison. There could have been a performance in there somewhere from her, and I think that was more of a script thing than her personally as an actress. I don't necessarily blame her for her performance.
I thought she played
fine.
this role very well. I just don't think
it's a
this
script
role is
problem.
with the actor. Yeah.
Yeah, there's never a moment in that movie where I go, this is her moment. This is the scene that's going to win her an award. No, she never has that moment in this movie. And there are other people who are even talking about the thug guy, the one that's like tries to be nice to her. He's going to be nominated for supporting actor. For what? Is the award shows is the movies this week, this year, that those two are going to get nominated and potentially are front runners for those awards? Because I can think of at least 20 other performances that
I came to the
deserve
conclusion long ago that the kinds of movies that get nominated for Oscars are not the same as the kind of movies that I enjoy, because I look at like all of the front runners lists for potential Oscar nominations this year, and it's like half the films I didn't see because, as I've said before, I've kind of stopped going to see movies just because I think I should. I only see movies I actually am interested in seeing, and the ones I have seen like this, it's like I enjoy them, but I don't see Oscar in them, especially because her character is super unlikable.
Unlikable.
And everything that happens to her is a result of her own, actions, because like she's like, oh yeah, I can't believe that you're gonna dump me and go back. And it's like, well, what did you think was gonna happen? A man was renting you, and you think it's true love all of a sudden? I'm sorry, this isn't pretty well.
And get off the little fucking anthill you have of a high horse. I am not a prostitute. You got paid.
Yeah, were you having sex for money? Yes, you are a hooker.
Yeah. I am a dancer. No, dancers don't get paid to do what you did. So get off the little anthill that you call a high horse and just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but now we're talking about writing and characters, things like that. But just in general, and in this case of most overrated movie, we don't see the awards.
No, we don't. Next goes to Best Comic Book Film, aka the Martin Scorsese Award. And if you guys don't get that joke, just search Martin Scorsese comic book and you'll get it. But the nominees are The Crow, Deadpool and Wolverine, Joker, Folie à Deux, Kraven the Hunter, and Venom: The Last Dance.
We need to explain these nominees.
We will once we get through. And the winner for Best Comic Book Film, aka the Martin Scorsese Award, goes to Deadpool and Wolverine. No shit. It's like, literally, we've never had such a hard time going, fuck, these are the nominees, and like we're not nominating Madam Web. Like, fuck that. Madam Web is not.
It wasn't Madam Web, and neither of us actually watched the new Hellboy one, so you didn't nominate that. So it's like there were only 5 movies left.
And we didn't like Crow, we didn't like Joker, we were okay with Kraven, and we were okay with Venom. But this was like Deadpool, Wolverine, just take the award and go home. Like there's no competition, there's no talking about it. It's fuck, these have to be the nominees. This is the weakest category ever. And this is normally not a weak category for us.
And it's one of those we actually considered at one point. It's like, do we give out this award? Because like for instance, at least one year I know we gave out Best Musical. This year there were only like 3 musical movies out, and 2 of them were like animated kids films essentially. So it's like there wasn't enough to make an award. But this one, it's like there's at least enough to make an award, whether we like the nominees or not. And Deadpool and Wolverine deserves the recognition, so we'll go ahead and give it out. Just ignore the other nominees. Just ignore.
Yeah, it's like everyone take a step forward. We had a good comic book. Everyone else step back. Deadpool, Wolverine, just take the award. Go. Leave the auditorium, please.
Yeah, it's like Craving be like, hey, I was the 4th place winner of comic movies this year. It's like, yeah, out of 5. Woohoo.
Don't hold on to that brag, please.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to Best Emotional Moment, aka the I'm Not Crying, You're Crying Award. And the nominees are Samara's Sacrifice in A Quiet Place Day 1, Blue reconnecting with Jeremy in If, Gary's testimony to Joker in Joker Folie à Deux, Elphaba and Galinda's club dance scene in Wicked, and Roz saying goodbye to Bright Bill before the migration trip in The Wild Robot. And the winner for Best Emotional Moment, aka the I'm Not Crying, You're Crying Award, goes to Elphaba and Galinda's club dance scene in Wicked. Yeah, this was the one scene I think that outside of Gary's testimony to Joker, which that's like the only good moment in Joker. I think this was the only two scenes that you and I were both like, well, these two 100% are going to be nominated, and then everything else we kind of had to like talk and discuss at those two. But the Elphaba Galinda scene, I got emotional watching it. I took Kimberly and the 10-year-old to this, and I got emotional. I looked over and they were both emotional during that scene, and you even said that you got a little choked up in that scene, even though Brian doesn't like to admit he cries because he's Mr. Tough Guy. You're like, I don't like crying in movies.
Don't cry. I said I don't like to cry.
Yeah. But this scene I thought was beautiful. It could have came off so wrong in so many levels if not done right, and it's probably one of the few things that you actually did like about Wicked was this scene.
I mean, there were things I liked about Wicked. Wicked is one of those movies that, again, I don't hate. I think it's highly overrated, and I was personally very, very disappointed by it because I wanted to like that movie so much. Maybe Wicked 2 will pull me back in. I don't know, but it definitely, there were things that it did right, and one of the things it did right was hit those emotional moments, and that's this moment especially. And it surprised me because I think the dance looks stupid as shit.
But the dance is not. But it's not good.
Even in a scene where you could easily be distracted by the shitty dancing, you're like, it hits that emotion, whether it be the between the acting on the actors' faces, especially with Cynthia Erivo, the music they use, and their use of silence as well in that moment of the film. I think it all works very well, and it definitely had everybody in the theater feeling it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's a funny dance sequence because she's doing this thing with her elbows, and she's doing this like little flock of seagulls kind of thing, and everyone's quietly watching. You're like, oh man, I feel so bad for her. But it isn't until the moment when Galinda goes up to her and you see that Elphaba is crying because she's trying to stay strong through the whole moment, which Cynthia Erivo claims this was not in the script and she did it on her own, which if that's true, bravo fucking oh. But it was that moment when you saw that she did care and she was having this emotional moment, and Galinda finally accepted her. That is what gets you. That's the moment where like rip your fucking heart.
That's the thing, is because you had the emotion of her feeling like this object of ridicule, and her feeling that moment and trying to stay strong in it and do her dance, things like that. There's that level of it. But then the moment when Galinda comes in and she realizes that she does have a friend, this person is going to come and identify with her, and it's like that just brings up another level.
Oh, so yeah, it's a beautifully heart-wrenching scene, which then turns into happiness and joy because everyone does join in on her and she feels,
because you have to in a movie when one person does a weird dance in the movie, everybody has to join in.
And then everyone magically has it down right away. It's like everyone all of a sudden, I was like, did you guys study it that well? Did you guys all know how to do it now? But anyway, our next award is Best Surprise / Twist, aka the Jaw Dropper Award. And the nominees are Boy was a Vanderkoy in Boy Kills World, the twist in Caddo Lake, and we're saying the twist because I still don't want to spoil it for anybody. Somebody dies in It's What's Inside. Rebel Moon is actually good, the Rebel Moon director's cut. Lady was the serial killer in Strange Darling, even though I just spoiled that. But the movie's been out since fall. And
anybody who didn't see it yet doesn't care about spoilers.
Yeah. And the winner for the Best Surprise / Twist, aka the Jaw Dropper Award, goes to Rebel Moon is actually good, and the Rebel Moon director's cut.
And all of you out there right now who are saying you're full of shit, Rebel Moon sucks, you didn't watch the director's cuts, did you?
No, you did not.
Or you went into it wanting to hate it.
Great, and I will say this: the other ones are all really good, and I will. And even though I did give away the twist in Strange Darling, I did not give a twist rate in Caddo Lake. First off, you can't explain the twist in Caddo Lake by just one sentence. That's a discussion. So if you guys haven't seen Caddo Lake on Max, it's actually pretty good, and the twist is actually really good. But Rebel Moon, Brian was okay with it, both versions. I was a full-on hater of both versions of Rebel Moon earlier this year. And then the director's cut came out, and I'm like, I am not going to give Rebel Moon
not both
another.
Versions. I mean both parts.
Yes, both parts, both part 1 and part 2. I was like, I am not going to give Rebel Moon was it, an extra hour and a half of my time when I hated the first two ones. And then Brian's like, no, man, it's actually good. I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's not. No, it's not. And I was like, all right, fine. Let me watch part one at least. And give it a chance. And then like I watched part one and I was like, I actually am enjoying myself watching this movie. Like, it's not like funny, but it's like the one thing we complained about part one was that it was very much a Magnificent Seven, which is what the franchise is to a point, at least through these first two films. But it's like they're not doing anything to grow these characters or earn these performances or anything like that. It's just, we'll go to this scene. Here's this character. Join us. Okay. Next scene. Join us. Okay. It's like you're not growing anything with these characters. You're not delivering backstory for anything. Well, that's because the whole fucking part of it got cut out in the original version of this that got released last year. The director's cut gives time for these characters to breathe, have moments, develop backstory for stuff that maybe isn't happening in part one, but actually is happening in part two. There's a whole character that in the original cut they kill in the second movie, and we're like, why are we focused on this person? I don't know who the fuck, do we know who this person is? And they're like, duh, duh, when this person dies. It's like, why? Because his whole character arc is in the first fucking movie, and it's actually like a decent amount of the film. There's so much of this that is left out, and it actually is good. It's an enjoyable film. Like, I'm having a hard time getting Kimberly to watch it because she's like, no, I already gave my time to the first two films. I'm not rewatching these movies. It's director's cut. I go, trust me, they're good. They're actually good.
And that's the problem with the release strategy. It's like because these are the only versions anyone should watch. But because they released those other versions first that were all chopped up and everything, people that decided to give Rebel Moon a chance, because I mean, Zack Snyder already has his haters, but people were willing to give them a chance. They gave them one chance, but then they saw these inferior versions of them, and now they're like, we don't want to watch that again, much less watch it an hour and a half longer than it already was. And so like almost nobody is giving these movies a chance. And because and the people that, and when they hear about them, they think, oh, well, he wants to make his R-rated director's cuts. He's just going to add in violence and blood. He's going to add in nudity. And yes, those things are in there. But there's also a lot of substance added to this. There's a lot of things that add more weight to scenes, that add more, depth to the characters, and it really does increase the quality of the film. I'm not going to say these aren't like the best movies of the year or anything like that, but these are actually good movies. And I think anybody who gives them a chance with an open mind, not just going in thinking you're going to hate it, anybody goes in and gives them a chance, I think you'll actually enjoy them, appreciate how much better these cuts are.
Yeah, I remember when part two ended earlier this year, I was like, oh my God, they're actually expecting us to go back and watch more of these because it's open-ended. It's like, no, there's not a chance in hell I will go back and watch a part 3 or 4 or what have you. After the director's cuts, I'm like, I want to see part 3. I want to see part 4 or part 5 or however many he plans on doing. The director's cuts, what's that?
I don't think we're getting them.
I don't know if I don't think we're going to get them either, which sucks. And that's because they did it the way they did it. But yeah, anyone who has some time to kill, check out the Rebel Moon director's cuts. Honestly, with this mindset, because all of his director's cuts are better than whatever he had. Batman vs. Superman, director's cut's better. Zack Snyder's Justice League is better than the Justice League we got. Granted, that's not because it was a cookie cutter, it's because it was two directors kind of going at it different. I know you don't like that one, but you gotta admit it's still better than the Snyder Buffy. Joss Whedon. Yeah, like it's very womp womp. But the Zack Snyder one at least feels conscionable through the whole thing. I honestly, and Brian's I'm gonna lose Brian on this. I wouldn't mind seeing a director's cut of Army of the Dead. Because I feel like if we got a stronger version of that,
Army of the Dead, which would increase its quality as much as the Rebel Moon director's cuts did, I would absolutely check it out because I wanted to like Army of the Dead.
Yeah, because Army of the Dead had a phenomenal start.
And it had great scenes to it.
Yeah, but it just, once again, felt cookie cuttered all the way through. If there is a 45-minute, hour and a half long version of that extended, I'm going to sit down and watch it. And I feel like that's most of the problem with Zack Snyder in general is that he makes these long films and either theatrical or Netflix are like, hey, look, we need to get people to want to watch these. Let's cut these down. But then he has the wrong people cutting his shit down.
Well, I understand theatrically, like when he cuts down, Batman Dawn of Justice or things like that, because it's like the the theaters don't really like long movies because they can get in more show times, and like you said, it'll turn some people off that don't want to go see it. That's why there's like that 3.5 hour The Brutalist that's got those Oscar buzz. I'm never gonna see this movie.
Yeah, okay, and case in point, I'm not gonna watch that.
But then again, to be fair, I wouldn't go see it. I probably wouldn't see a movie if it was 2 hours long either.
I wouldn't see it if it was 90 minutes.
But I'm saying, as far as the theaters and the studios are concerned, they don't want these super long movies for the most part because that's not what is going to bring in the money for them. But when you're on a streamer and you have unlimited time and people can pause and come back and watch things in parts, and so length isn't really an issue, and especially places like Netflix where people are used to watching these long series that go on for there's like 10 hours of a story essentially, and they'll watch it in part. Like, why not just put those versions out first? It's not like people are going to look at Rebel Moon and be like, hey, this is a family film, let's all watch it together. It's like, just put out the R-rated version you wanted to make instead of making this cut up butchered version of it.
Yeah. Next, we're going to Best Cameo, aka the Yes We All Saw It Award. And the nominees are Jesse Plemons, Civil War, all the cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine, Anya Taylor-Joy in Dune Part 2, Jason Momoa in The Fall Guy, and Fred Durst, Y2K. And the winner for Best Cameo, aka the Yes We All Saw It Award, all the cameos in Deadpool and Wolverine. Yes, we know it's a cheat. And yes, it's our award show, so we choose to do whatever the fuck we want to do. This is the only way we could do this without going, and Channing Tatum, Deadpool Wolverine, and Jennifer Garner, Deadpool Wolverine. This is the only way we could do it. And frankly, out of all the cameos, these were the best ones of the year. There's not much more to say about that. The cameos were great that we got. Brian liked some more than others. I thought they were all fun. I enjoyed the hell out of them. Whether it was is it Tyler Bane who plays Sabretooth? Tyler Mane. Whether it's Tyler Mane or Pyro, or the obvious ones of Wesley Snipes and Jennifer Garner and Channing Tatum and Daphne Keane. They all deserved to get this award cohesively.
And what might be the best one, Chris Evans.
Yes, and Chris Evans as Johnny Storm, which was.
It's like if we had to pick, we were trying to pick the nominees for this, and originally we went into the mindset of one per movie, and we're like, we can't do one per movie for this. So we're like, do we put like Chris Evans and then like the group of Channing Tatum, Jennifer Garner, Wesley Snipes? Like no, we can't really do that because why are they grouped together? And he's so I'm like, fuck it, put them all together.
And then we're like, well, they're winning though, so it doesn't really matter at this point. They all get the award. But yeah, all the cameos for that. Even though if we had to pick one that wasn't Deadpool Wolverine, I would probably lean more towards Jason Momoa, and I'm sure you're probably leaning more towards Fred Durst.
Not necessarily. I'm trying to bring the nominees back up here.
Plemons and Civil War.
I guess of them. Because Fred Durst's part was fun. See, if we hadn't done him as a group, I probably would have picked Chris Evans by himself.
No, I meant non-Deadpool.
But if you didn't pick anything Deadpool, I don't know what I'd pick. That'd be tough.
Mine would probably.
I might go Momoa. I think I'd probably go Momoa as well.
I think that was the most fun one.
Yeah.
But, all right. Next, we have Best Breakthrough, aka the I Got Next Award, and the nominees are, and I want to say I'm saying his name right. Will you pull it up? It's Android from Alien.
Oh yeah. Hang on.
Is it David Johnson? He just spells it off. So it looks like Johnson to me.
It's Johnson. It's just spelled different.
Is it Johnson? Okay, okay. So David Johnson, Alien Romulus, Katie O'Brien, Love Lies Bleeding, Lily Rose Depp in Nosferatu, Aaron Pierre in Rebel Ridge, or Corey Michael Smith in Saturday Night. And the winner for Best Breakthrough, aka the I Got Next Award, goes to Katie O'Brien in Love Lies Bleeding. I think we both went into this award with like, oh, Katie O'Brien, 100%. And then we're like, oh shit, Aaron Pierre. Oh shit. And then it was like, wow, this is actually gonna be way harder to decide the winner on. But we still stuck with what we initially thought. But Aaron Pierre with Rebel Ridge. And while yes, some people will argue, hey, Lily Rose Depp's been around. And Corey Michael Smith, for anyone who watched Gotham, he did like 8 seasons as the Riddler on
Yeah, but this
Gotham.
isn't a debut award; it's a breakthrough award. This is the one that's going to the role that's going to knock them through to the next level. Is what it is.
Exactly. And Katie O'Brien went from, I don't think anyone really, neither of us really knew her in Love
Well,
Likes
yeah,
Bleeding.
it's like she's one of those people who've been in things. Like she was on, which one was it? Andor, one of those series.
Yeah, she had a small part in Andor. If it was not Andor,
this is the one.
It was either Andor or Book of Boba Fett. It was one or the other. I want to say it was Book of Boba Fett.
I'm not sure. But it's like she's somebody who has been in a few things here and there. But this is the role that I think people took notice of her. It's like she had a major role in it. She knocked it out of the park. You know, we think she did a phenomenal job in this. And I certainly took notice of it. I think when the movie first came out, I said, I'm already going to put her on my list for, supporting actress.
We both were, yeah.
Because she did such a phenomenal job in that movie and she really caught your attention. Like, this person has a future. And then already she popped up in things like Twisters and things like that. And next year, well, this year, 2025, when we did our most anticipated, she's in like 3 or 4 movies this year, because clearly the studios did the same thing. Like, whoa, this girl's good. We got to put her in more stuff. So I'm really looking forward to her career.
Yeah, it was really down to her and Aaron Pierre for Rebel Ridge. That was another actor who I think we both saw him in Old, and that was it. And then, I mean, he's in TV and stuff, but we never really saw those shows he was in. And now he's going to be in Lanterns. He's going to be the lead in that. So, I mean, people obviously took notice of Aaron Pierre, and now he's going to go through the hemisphere. But yeah, Katie O'Brien and him, those two were clearly the standouts. But all 5 of these nominees are definitely people that we are going to start paying a lot more attention to in the coming years. And hopefully they maintain it. We'll find out. Next, we are going to Best Villain. And the nominees are Dr. Dementis, Chris Hemsworth in Furiosa Mad Max Saga, Mr. Reed, played by Hugh Grant in Heretic, Chief Sandy Byrne, played by Don Johnson in Rebel Ridge, Knox, played by Conor McGregor in Roadhouse, and Art the Clown. Just going to say Art the Clown in Terrifier 3. And the winner for Best Villain goes to Dr. Dementis, a.k.a. Chris Hemsworth in Furiosa, a Mad Max Saga. Fake nose or not, Chris Hemsworth was phenomenal in this film. I loved every aspect of what he did in this movie.
He understood the assignment. He knew exactly the tone to hit with that role. He did everything perfectly.
Yeah. All 5 of these people were great in their films. I mean, Hugh Grant was great in Heretic. Don Johnson went from like, oh yeah, I remember Don Johnson. I was like, oh fuck, okay, Don. I'm gonna pay more attention to Don Johnson.
Now, I want to give the one who just missed the cut, and that's Josh Hutcherson as the douchebag CEO in Beekeeper.
Derek Danforth in The Beekeeper. Yes. Yeah. Conor McGregor, even though Brian thought he was horrible in it, I fucking loved him as Knox in Roadhouse. He understood the assignment too. He understood the assignment for the 80s Roadhouse, but he still understood the assignment.
He was a different movie than everybody else. That's the only issue.
Yes. And then, of course, Art the Clown is Art the Clown. But Hemsworth's Dr. Dementis was fantastic. And it was good seeing Hemsworth. Now, he does other movies, but everyone just sees him as Thor. And while he's very Thor-ish in this movie, because he's got a cape and all that stuff, he does enough to separate himself from
That's probably why they gave him the nose. They probably put the cape and the hair on him and like, you look too much like Thor. We got to do something.
We got to ugly you up a little bit.
Yeah.
Chris. Come on. Next, we're going to Best Animated Film. And this one normally is what Comic Book Movie was this year, where it's usually like 1, and then we had to pick up nominees. This was probably one of the toughest categories this year. And the nominees are Flow, Inside Out 2, Kung Fu Panda 4, Transformers 1, and The Wild Robot. And the winner for Best Animated Film goes to The Wild Robot. This was, I felt like, a tight 4-movie race between Flow, Wild Robot, Transformers, and Inside Out 2. All 4 were in at least one, or if not both of us, as a top 10 at the end of the year. This was a strong year for animated films. But when it came down to it between Flow and Wild Robot, we both gave the nod to Wild Robot. Beautiful animation. Like I said, not necessarily a new story, but beautifully done. Great voice casting. And the one movie that we were so excited for, and then got Sauron, and then ended up loving, ends up taking the crown. But yeah, Wild Robot was a fantastic animated film.
Yeah, it's a strong year for animation. Now, not all is my taste. I didn't actually see Inside Out 2. That's just my personal tastes. Transformers 1 was a fun movie, but it was it leaned heavily into the kind of kiddie aspect of it. Except, I mean, the action scenes, I will say, were really cool. So for me, it was between Flow and Wild Robot. And Flow, what I have said, is maybe the most beautiful animation of the year. It almost feels like a short film that just happens to be feature length. I think when it came down to which one is a more complete story and has more to it in terms of the voice acting and all things like this, I think that as an animated film, I think Wild Robot just had the more kind of complete package to it, and itself has stunning animation. Like before I saw before I saw
I
Flow.
was like, what? That's not an animated film, bro.
Flow was a Johnny Depp movie from like 2001 or something.
Yeah.
But before I saw Flow, I had said Wild Robot was like just the most beautiful animation I've seen in such a long time. And then I saw Flow, I'm like, wow, this is as good, if not maybe even better. But when it comes to as a complete animated film, I give the edge to Wild Robot.
And now we get to our final award of the evening, and that is Best Ensemble. This goes to the best overall cast in the movies of 2024. And the nominees are Conclave, Dune Part 2, The Fall Guy, Nosferatu, and Saturday Night. And the winner for Best Ensemble goes to Saturday Night. Much like we said during Best Comedy, this is a cast of 20 plus. It's chaotic. It's hectic. There's so much happening throughout this entire film. And every single person in this film knew the assignment. Whether you're playing the lead with Gabriel as Lorne Michaels, or Corey Michael Smith as Chevy Chase, or a small part with J.K. Simmons as, is it Milton Berle that he was in that scene? Everyone was fantastic in this movie. There are so many standout performances, whether they were only on screen or took the ownership of the screen for 2 minutes or through the whole film. This was a top-notch cast all the way through.
Yeah, and it's a hard thing to do when you have a movie like this with such a large cast. I mean, yes, in terms of quantity, is it a great ensemble of actors, but then to have every single character has at least their moment to shine, if not several scenes to shine. Everyone in every scene is giving their A game. Everybody delivered on everything. I don't think there was a weak link in the bunch. There are some obviously who stand out more than others, but nobody was weak in this movie. This one, from top to bottom, it's a movie that's basically all about dialogue. I mean, the things happen, but this is a movie that's all about dialogue, and every single person did it perfectly. And in the spirit of what is best ensemble, it was just the easy winner.
Exactly. Well, that's it. That is the 4th annual Movie Crusaders Awards. If you guys like this, go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos pop up on the Movie Crusaders. And of course, you can follow us on those social media outlets below. If you're wondering, what about Best Actor, Best Actress, Supporting, Director, all that kind of stuff? Those are all being set aside for the Movie Crusaders Oscar show, which will be coming out here in the next couple of weeks once we fully know what the Oscars is looking like, because that will have our choices, and then we'll pick our choices for the actual nominees on that show. So
we usually do, I believe, 3 things for each category. There's our choices overall. There's who we think will win of the nominees, and who we think should win of the nominees. So, those are not always the same thing.
Yeah, and all that is going to be on the Movie Crusaders Oscar show. So don't worry, we are going to be talking about the top tier performances of the year. This is more the fun award show. But let us know, based off of our awards, who would you have selected to win those awards in the comments below. Coming up next, honestly, it probably will be that award show because it's January. There's not really a bunch of big movies out right now for us to really talk about. Granted, it's not that there hasn't been any movies. Like I said, we talked about Wolfman for a brief moment here. I think Brian and I were both kind of on that. Den of Thieves, is it Pantera?
Yeah, Pantera.
Yeah. That came out. It's fine. Back in Action, Jamie Foxx, Cameron Diaz movie came out. Brian gave up after like 30 minutes of it. I watched the whole thing. It's So there's not really a whole lot of actual movies worth digging our teeth into and talking about on the channel. So that's why you haven't seen us come back and do Movie Crusaders chat about. So it's really been kind of a quiet January.
February is looking good.
Yeah, February is looking good. So you'll see a lot more of us coming around February. We've got Love Hurts. We've got Hard Eyes. We got Captain America: Brave New World. We're really gonna start getting into the thick of it. Going in October, you're gonna start seeing Brian and I a lot more around there. We're kind of enjoying this little month, 2-month breather. We got through all the big end of year stuff, and now we're just kind of waiting for some stuff worthy of talking about. Yes, we know there was some Scream news, but we didn't think it was worth a whole episode to talk about it. Yes, Joel McHale being cast as Sydney's husband in Scream instead of Patrick Dempsey, but it's a different Mark, not the same Mark. That seems fucking stupid, but
Well,
okay.
because she said my husband Mark, so they have to have continuity, but there's like, oh, we didn't say his last name.
Yeah, it's fucking dumb. But anyway, we will be back next, probably with our Oscar show, so be on the lookout for that. But until next time, we are the Movie Crusaders. I'm Sean Waskrew. That is Brian Michaels, and thank you guys for joining us for the 4th annual Movie Crusaders Awards, and we hope to see you around here next year for the 5th annual. Like I said, some new awards will be added. We will hopefully have just as a very great round of nominees as we did this year. But until next time, in case we don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.